Hey guys, I want to tell you about one of my favorite new companies, and that is Rep Provisions. So I met these guys at PaleoFX last year where they were just blowing everyone away with their beef sticks and pecan nut butter combo packs that are outrageously delicious. But as I talked to them, I was even more blown away because I found out what they were about. They are a regenerative agriculture company committed to the future of the planet by the proper management of cattle. So they are regenerating America's grasslands with the management of their cattle. Look into it. It's amazing. They have everything from, of course, high quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef to Mongolisa pork, which is like the Wagyu of pork, to bone broth popsicles, pecan nut butters, like I said, and so many amazing things. Go support them and support the future of our planet. And they're giving you 15% off for being a Kick-Ass Life podcast listener. So use coupon code KICKASSLIFE and get 15% off at repprovisions.com.
Hey everyone, we're going to take a minute here at the top of the show to chat with you about some of our sponsors who are offering incredible discounts for you and your family. We also only align ourselves with companies that we know are providing safe and healthy products, and also products that we actually consume on a regular, if not sometimes daily basis. And one of those companies is Primal Kitchen. Primal Kitchen products are incredible because they are dairy-free, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free with no refined sugar. And they are delicious. So visit primalkitchen.com to check out the vast array of products available and use code KICKASSLIFE for 10% off.
Hey guys, today we're talking about letting go of limiting beliefs. And if every single person listening can't admit that they have limiting beliefs, you're crazy because you got limiting beliefs. Like it's like every level you get to a little bit higher, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I am proficient at this, or I am able to do this. I am capable. But like think how many more things that you have. Think like I love this kind of talk cuz I love just thinking about what is our potential. Like we have no idea. If you look at how much of our brains we're actually using, like think about that. Like I don't even think we have the creative capacity to truly understand what we're capable of. And the way I look at it is limiting beliefs are tethers, right? So they're these little tethers that hold you down. And what's crazy about limiting beliefs is that you don't know they're limiting. You don't know they're limiting beliefs. You just think they're reality. You just think they're the truth. Like, well, I mean, I can't, I can't do that. Why not? I just made, I love setting goals. So this weekend I spent making 10-year goals. I realized I didn't have 10-year goals and I felt like that was a little short-sighted. So my 10-year goals are huge. They're huge. But what I love to do, the reason I love it is I love writing. Okay. So I would have been the nerdy girl in high school that would have written your paper for you. Like I like writing. And the reason I like writing is because I have a formula for it. So if I'm going to crank out an essay, it's because I know how to create the skeleton plan and have little oomph in the middle of it and how to close it out really strong. And it makes me feel good because I'm like, dude, that was good. That was persuasive. I like that. And so the same thing goes with our goals. You got to start with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind, right? It's like a 7 habits of highly successful people principle. So do you have, I don't know, do you have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 3-month plan, a 10-year? But I like to go, I mean, really, truly, if you want to, go off the principles of Think and Grow Rich, he's like, the end is death. So actually that is where I started. I was like, okay, how many years do I think I'm going to need to live off of savings after I want to possibly stop working? I don't know if I will, but let's hedge our bet. So I was like, okay, I need at least 50 years and I want X amount of money per year. So that means in savings by this age, I need X amount of money, right? So those are money financial goals. And that's really cool because when you get into that, you look at it and you're like, yeah, right. Like, yeah, right. But when you start to reverse engineer, you're like, holy shit, I actually probably can pull this off. Oh my gosh. And then it gets really exciting. The same thing with like fitness goals, right? So what's your end goal? You want to like weigh a certain amount or, have a certain amount of muscle mass, just make the freaking plan and start reverse engineering. And it's crazy how doable these things become. So I'd say like basic goal setting of writing things down in a really boring, uneventful way on a freaking piece of computer paper or whatever you got with your pen and start like looking at things, you will break limiting beliefs purely by doing that because you're starting to see the path and you're starting to see what's possible. Okay, Elle, before I know we got to get you in here. I'm like hogging the mic here, but
No, sure.
I, I wanted to start with childhood. I don't know if that's where you went, in your preparations for this, but one thing that I have done in my work, doing coaching with Tony Child, it's mindset coaching, elevated worldwide. What we do is we write down limiting beliefs that we adopted as children. That's been super helpful for me and in different areas. So if you're listening, like go back to when you were a little kid. Where did you feel like you weren't as good as other people or weren't as worthy as other people? Other people can have that. Other people can do that, but I can't. And maybe it was something as simple as wanting something at the store and your parents said they didn't have enough money. And from that moment on, you developed a mindset of, I don't have enough money for the things that I want. Right. So I'm very mindful with my kids. I'm like, that's not a priority. Sorry, it's
By the
not a
way,
priority.
I want to highlight that. That is a great response. It's just not a
Right.
priority right now, or that's not something I want to invest our
Yeah.
money in. That's such a better way of saying, no, we can't afford that and all of that kind of stuff. So I just want to highlight that. as well.
Yeah, because it's like, dude, you can afford almost anything if you really wanted to. I don't care where you're at financially. If you really wanted to, you got a bunch of poor people with brand new iPhone 12 Pros. You know what I mean?
You like 15 credit cards. You could do the system.
Yeah.
And you can figure it out if you really wanted to. Yeah.
Right. So it's important when you get in that abundance mindset to realize, like, it's funny because now that I'm more in abundance mindset, I have zero, like when I see sales and stuff like that, I'm like, I mean, I know I can get it, but do I really want that in my house? Like I got to clean it and take it. Nah, I'm good. And so when you're really in abundance mindset, I feel like you actually spend less money. That's how I feel, and then I wait for the times I really need or want something really bad. I can just do it. So anyway, that's a money is an example of a lot of us have limited mindsets, our earning potential, right? It's like, well, yeah, other people are like millionaires or even billionaires, but like, why can't you be? Because you don't believe you can be. Truly, it's that limited mindset. I know a guy who he's a billionaire and he was a foster child. He's here in Utah. He's a friend of a friend. He was in foster care and when he turned 18, he got kicked out on the street. So he was homeless. And he became a billionaire from that place. So if he can do that, he started cleaning houses. He was like Mary Maids. And then he was like, wait a minute, I could just like get my own people and do this myself. And from then on, boom. And now he's like, I don't even think he's 50 yet. And he's a billionaire. So wowza. I mean, obviously he's a pretty special person in my opinion, but look at the belief. Like if he had told himself like, there's
he
no
didn't
freaking
get some lucky break and meet someone that hired him at a high level
right.
corporate job he was cleaning homes.
Yeah. As a orphaned kid, I mean, like it doesn't take any
with probably not a college degree again.
Yeah, like any less advantage than that. He probably had a bunch of trauma, like who knows, and so like wow, that's amazing. It's so inspiring to me. And he's the happiest person, like the kindest, nicest, happiest person. So it's just very inspiring. So I look at that as a wonderful example of like what's possible when you believe it's possible. And then, also like for me, the biggest thing is like where you fit into the world. So like, where did you rate yourself? This is why I see like kids, I feel like kids are depressed. Like once they turn around like 10, 11, 12, have you noticed how much kids change? They're like these little balls of light and excitement and free when they're like 7, 8, maybe 9. And then somewhere around 10, 11, 12, they turn into these like closed, quiet, shy. You know why? It's because they're starting to rank themselves of where they come in the world and they're starting to get low self-esteem because of it. So like, look at that age of your life, like middle school age. What did you think about yourself? Did you think you weren't pretty or weren't good looking? Or did you think you were small? Or did you think you were fat? Or like whatever? That shit's probably still in you. So like we got to go back and look at those things because once we can cut those tethers and change those belief systems, then we can start acting from a place of abundance again and start making better choices for ourselves. So anyway, I'll turn the mic over to you, Elle. I'm like hogging it like crazy, but I'm curious.
It's all good stuff. Well, I just want to start off by saying like, okay, like people are like, what is a limiting belief? It's a state of mind, a conviction that you think it's true, but it limits you in some way. So I'm not good at math. I'd be a terrible dancer. Your mother always said men are worthless. Okay, like whatever these things, this goes back to childhood, but also you can get it from your friend. You can get it from significant others. You can get these beliefs that you adopt, right? So what are the most common limiting beliefs? They are usually fear of success, fear of failure, fear we're not good enough to get what we want, fear of not being loved, lovable, fear of rejection, or things like we have to work very hard, long hours for money. These are things about your life. So when someone says like, well, no one's going to hire me at age 40 in the acting world or whatever it is, like, and it's a little bifurcated, but you have to examine and go, is it really true? Have you really had the experiences enough to know it's true? Like, have you tried and gotten rejected before? Or also, even if that's the case, has someone else succeeded when you haven't? Because I guarantee they have. Because I've heard about many stories. Let's just take the acting example, for example, where someone has like had bit parts for like 20 years and then they hit it at like 40 or even 60. Louise Hay, one of the most prolific publishers and output of mindset information, started that at age 60, died at, I think, 90, 95, I forget. But she started her life at 60. Mark Sisson started his life from being a personal trainer and really entering into the area of Primal Blueprint and then Primal Kitchen. He has a private jet now. All from, lots of risks and stuff, but all from, again, just trying and failing, going up the ladder. He just didn't have,
Yep.
again, learning the least about fear of failure. And he did that at like he started, I think it was like 45, 46. And he's 67 now. So,
I
when you're like, oh, I'm too old to start, is that really freaking true? Bullshit. Because let's look out there and see that. So I feel like, here's a good one I love too. This was an interesting one. There's this, it's actually really sweet. It's a Netflix show called like Say I Do Surprise Weddings. And what it does is it features all these couples who never got the chance to have like a really good wedding and they're already together. And one of the couple is the one that kind of tells the people like, hey, we're going to surprise this. And it's a really, really cute, lovely show. The things between these couples are sweet, but there's this one couple. And one of the hardest things was she was told when she was younger that she had like a learning disability and she was dumb and that like they put her in the special thing. So she always had this thing, and her
Huge.
husband's like being interviewed and he's like, I just want her to be confident. Like she's smart, like
Mm-hmm.
she's smart, but this is digging in on her self-esteem. And what I love is that the producers were like, all right, well, let's find out once and for all and let's get her tested and like, see, does she impair it in some way? Well, you know what? And here she is. She's had this limiting belief her whole life.
Mm.
She finally does this show, right? She didn't know she was even going to be on. She gets tested. Her IQ is extremely high. She just
Yep.
has dyslexia.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my
it.
gosh.
That's it. And
I
it was
love.
like she was crying. It was like a whole revelatory. And she'd lived that whole time in this story
Yeah.
that was not true,
Yeah.
but that she just took on,
Dude, I can't even tell you how many high performers and super successful people have told me that they were like in special ed or like failed all their classes in school because you know why? Because they were nonconformist. A lot of the reason I think why is because they're so intelligent that they saw above the bullshit and they're like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that stupid assignment. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not doing it. Right. Or they're like, this is like unengaging and I don't even care. So I'm not doing it. Right. So like, I think a lot of people got messed up from like public school systems because they weren't these little like pleasers that just would do everything that somebody said. And they got these limiting beliefs, like because they were in like special, it's funny. My son, my 13-year-old son, like he was always in speech. And I think he always thought because he was in speech, like he was like special just because he couldn't say his R's right. And then they put him in the gifted and talented test and he scored really high on it. So it's like, oh, he had this, I'm grateful that happened for him in his younger years because he thought that he was, like less smart. He was like embarrassed that he had to leave for speech. And here he is like, they're like, actually, you're like super intelligent, And so, man, so many people, that's a big one that I've seen people like really, really play small in life because they believe that they aren't smart. And I'm telling you, for at least from my experience, from the high achievers I've been around, if you didn't do well in school, you're probably really freaking smart. I mean, I did well in school and I know that for me was a lot of like pattern pleasing behaviors because I had like a kind of rough home life. But man, like don't even for a second let that make you think that you're not super intelligent because that's probably an indicator that you are. And I want to go back to what you said about not being afraid to fail, not being afraid to fail. This is so speaking of my son, Jerem is one of those kids that will try anything physically. Like he's total daredevil. Like, let me see if I can make this jump. And I'm like, oh, I'm like losing my stomach. I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so scary. And I go skiing with him and he's flying down the mountain and I'm like terrified. I'm like shaking. And so I kind of interviewed him on it. I wanted to see why I wanted to get into his mindset. I'm like, why is he so brave when it comes to physicality? And it's funny because his answers were just like, oh, like this is so obvious, and that's usually when you're good at something, that's how you feel, is like, oh, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But for somebody else, I'm like, no, because I'm not willing to try all the crazy slack lines and jumping from these really kind of almost dangerous jumps, just to see if you can do it. That scares the crap out of me. And you know what he said? He's like, if you, because like, if you just fall, you fall. Like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter if it's like when you're not going to get that hurt. Like, he just has this mentality of like, it's the consequence is not that big. And he's like, I'll just try again if I can't get it. Right. And so I think that's what happens when we're unwilling to take risks and we limit ourselves is because we blow up the consequence in our mind. For example, skiing. The reason I was so scared skiing is because you know what I was imagining in my mind? I was imagining that I would like start toppling head over feet and that like my my limbs would get ripped off because my ski would like get stuck in something and it would like dislocate my leg out of my hip. Like I was going all the way and blowing the consequence out of proportion. So something to consider, you know, like if you're trying to put yourself out there and really grow and expand, like are you blowing the consequence out of proportion? Do you think everyone's going to judge you if you mess up? Like sorry, but people don't care that much. They really don't. And
Also,
so,
when you have to look at these limiting beliefs, you have to go like, okay, like where did I get it from? Okay, childhood, but also like I said, education. So, for example, like let's say you grew up in a family and you were homeschooled and you were taught that the Earth was flat. All right, well, you're gonna have some harsh realities when you when you get into the world, but you have to look at that. Or church, right? Certain beliefs and things like that. You have to start examining who told me this, and did the person that told me this, do I even really know them? Do I even really trust them? And then can I look into
consider
it
the
further?
source.
Yeah, like consider the source, taking people's word for it versus having evidence yourself, right? The other thing too is letting go, you can identify these limiting beliefs, but here's the problem with this is that you don't want to always keep searching for them because then it's like perpetuating, you know what I mean? So it's at a certain point, you sit down, you examine these things, you go through it, identifying them, right? And then obviously, like again, like money doesn't grow on trees, right? I'm too old. Belief about health, it's too late. I'm already 50. Why would I start working out? Or these kind of things. And then you look at the bodybuilder that's 90, she started at 80 and she's a bad, it's just most of the time your limiting belief is literally not factually true in the world, and it certainly isn't true for other people who have managed to do it. And so why are you continually stewing in that? And so anytime you're like, I can't, or they won't let me, that's another limiting belief, is that other people are holding you back.
Yeah. This mysterious they. And as a strategy to overcome this, I really do recommend identifying it. What was it? What was the little limiting belief that you have had probably since you were a little kid, or maybe like during puberty years or something where it hit you really hard? And doing positive affirmations of the opposite in the mirror. I know it's cheesy sounding, but it freaking works. And I've heard so many people tell me that this really worked for them. So take the areas in which you feel insecure and freaking lie to yourself, because you're going to feel like it's a lie, but actually you've been believing the lie. So what you say in the mirror to yourself, you're going to feel like you're lying. You're going to feel like you're full of shit because you're actually saying the opposite of what you've been telling yourself for however many years. So if you feel like you're not a good mom, I want you to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm an amazing mom. If you feel like you're not very smart, I am crazy levels of smart. If you feel like you're, never going to be successful, it's like, I am the most successful person in the world. Take it as far as you can and just keep doing that. And it really, really does work, because it is a fake it till you make it that actually works. Because what happens is you start looking for ways during your day to prove that statement right that you keep telling yourself, because we love to be right. So definitely
and with that affirmation, a great example was the movie Heal Your Life with Louise Hay. Went through a bunch of people who had recovered from cancers and other awful things, and how they did the mirror work and all this affirmation. And so let's say you really don't believe like I'm a great mom. You can say, I'm in the process of becoming a great mom. Whatever gets you to believe it is going to be the best. So you might have to make an adjustment on something if when you're saying it, it's not truly believed, but you could be like, I'm in the process of, getting my greatest body, or something. I'm on my way. Something like that might feel a little bit better than declaring it itself. But if you can declare it, do it.
I like that.
Let's see what else. Go ahead.
I was going to say, on this same level, like before we move on, like being solutions focused and not problems focused. Watch yourself on that. When you want to push forward into any area of your life, do you start focusing on all the reasons you can't, all the problems, or do you start focusing on all of the reasons you can and the solutions? And once you become a solutions oriented type of person, this will bug the shit out of you when people are problems focused, because you're like, you're getting nowhere. Like, don't even talk about it if you're just going to talk about all the reasons that you can't. So watch that in yourself. Like when you talk about making fitness goals or making financial goals, making career goals, making relationship goals, are you like, oh, but what if this or what if that? Like, just don't even say it. I know it's going to come up, but I want you to just knock it off. Like, let that thought go and replace it with a reason that you can. That will, you want to get into a limitless mindset. Just that practice alone is a game changer.
Yeah. And in dethroning any of these limiting beliefs, you can also do the affirmation of, I choose not to believe this anymore.
Mhm.
You mean
Mhm.
you can, I don't want to, I'm not into this anymore. Or universe, help me. I want to change this belief, anything towards the positive. Also, the other thing too is, oh, how do you discover some of your limiting beliefs? Another way is to think about scenarios where you've acted in a negative and shitty
Yep.
toxic way and think about why. Because if you look closely at your toxic behaviors, you will discover that the underlying cause is a
Yep.
limiting belief. And the example
Mhm.
of my vulnerability issue that I had to nip in the bud is probably a good one too, because the behavior would be withdrawing from people, not, and all this kind of like stay over here and all
Mhm.
this thing, which is
Mhm.
a toxic behavior in any romantic relationship, just running
Yep.
away from things. And so, when I looked at that theme, it went right in line with my inability to be okay with being vulnerable, which probably was fear of rejection or,
Mhm.
again, because of the disability thing, whatever it was. Looking at behaviors and some stuff that you got to work on, and there's some limiting beliefs in there as well. And I would say that the other thing too is I read this somewhere where someone was like, when you write down your limiting beliefs and you start there, like limiting beliefs about money, romance, career, success, whatever it is, thank these limiting beliefs. Be like, thank you for how you have protected me, forgive yourself, and all of the other different beliefs you've developed. Like, just give yourself permission to honor them and then move past them. So you can be like, hey, thank you. I see how you were protecting me. I see how that was. I'm moving on now. I choose not to believe you anymore. I've had
And what's
so many limiting beliefs, from I'm not good at math to now here's the thing, I just hate math. Okay, I just freaking hate it. It's not that I'm not good at it. I can apply
right.
myself. I just don't like it. But again, I would catch myself saying, so now I just be like, math's not my thing, or I'm not into it, where I used to be like, I'm really bad at math. And I try to catch myself, even now it'll come out a little bit and I'll just try to switch it, because that's not the truth. Because when I have applied myself, I'm really freaking good at math.
Yeah, isn't
You
and
know?
there's another micro trauma from the public school system. I don't like this way
Yeah.
of learning where it's like you're forced to learn about something. Like if somebody's going to start teaching me about like I don't know, like how to make bookshelves, I don't care about how to make bookshelves. So I'm going to feel like I'm not good at making bookshelves because I don't give a shit,
Yeah.
And so like a lot of us have those little like thoughts. It's like why did you even need to sorry to say, but like
Yes.
advanced trigonometry, like did you really need that in your life? Probably not. You don't even remember anything from it. So
It's
a lot
not
of us
needed any algebra or trig in my life other than your
yeah,
basic division,
right.
percentage
So it
calculation.
sucks because a lot of us do have those little things like that. And what you're saying there reminded me so much of something that was in that book, Self-Compassion from Kristen Neff.
Mm.
And she was talking about how we judge ourselves. We judge ourselves and we pretend that other people are judging us for that thing. So like with your hand injury, you placed a judgment on yourself that meant that meant
I projected onto people their projection of a judgment onto me. Totally in my head,
exactly.
insanity.
Totally. And we do that all over the place. It's crazy, so it's really worth taking a look at. And you also mentioned about like challenging, like just saying, I'm not going to believe that anymore. There is a lot of validity in that. And it reminds me of this concept from Dr. Daniel Amen from Amen Clinics. He talks about the concept of killing ants, automatic negative thoughts. I think I mentioned this before, but I couldn't remember who to attribute to. And it's Dr. Daniel Amen. And so he says every single time that you have a thought, your brain releases chemicals. And so whenever you're like sad or mad or cranky or you're like judgmental, feeling helpless, hopeless, any of those negative emotions, you literally release stress chemicals and you become weaker. And I'm reading Power versus Force by
Oh,
have you read
David,
that? David R. Hawkins
yeah,
right now?
that's a really, by the way, that book is very, very interesting. And there's
Mhm.
also an audiobook. He's a little dry. It's really worthwhile though. Why don't you tell
Mhm.
everyone what it's about? It's a good one.
I just started it. So, but he's
Okay.
talking about muscle testing in response. So, how strong our muscles are in response to emotions and other things too, actually, like drawings and kind of a little bit outside of the box stuff. It's fascinating research though. But, if you look at this, like, so you have these ants, you have these automatic negative thoughts. Think about it. Like when somebody taught me this concept, and I was really grateful because I was going through my big, huge life transformation, and I was getting caught in these little like stressful moments of victimhood, honestly, of like, oh my gosh, nobody knows how hard this is. Nobody knows what I'm going through. Oh my gosh, these very stressful thoughts. In this practice of killing it right there and then flipping it, changed
Yes.
my life. Honestly, like that practice, like really truly had a huge impact on my ability to cope with life and just saying like, dude, you know what? And what I would do is switch it to gratitude. So the example, what like the moment this hit me the biggest was when I was in this moment where I was feeling sorry for myself because I was folding laundry for myself and 4 kids and trying to start a business, my first year of entrepreneurship, single mom, like starting from scratch. I have zero support. I had no child support, alimony, nothing. I lost it all. I'm like ground zero, no credit, like nothing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking scary. And I was like, dude, nobody freaking knows how hard this is. I got to fold all this laundry. Like I have no help. And that's when I realized I was like, there it is. There it is. And I switched it immediately. I was like, dude, look at this amazing washer and dryer I have. I have actually like really high quality laundry soap that's all natural. And I live in this like safe climate controlled environment. And oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I have kids and that, I have clothes for them and that I have hands to fold these with. And I just went like all the way in gratitude and boom, all of a sudden I was like really, really happy and empowered again. It literally changed my
Yes.
whole energy. I was like, getting shit done, good mood and all of it. So, a lot of
I
this,
had, I had,
oh yeah, mindset work can come from just literally flipping it, choosing to flip it just like that.
yeah, I flipped it twice and I got the results immediately. And it was about the law of attraction, and I probably mentioned before, but I'll just say them quick again. So before I wrote Paleothyroid Solution, the whole kind of theme of the book is I couldn't find a freaking doctor to help me, man. I went through like 2 dozen endocrinologists. Nobody helped me. So no one I met, all the top of the top, knew what they're talking about. So when I was discussing publishing the book with Mark Sisson, he's like, we should probably really get a doctor on this. And that was the worst thing I could hear because I was like, how? I've been trying to find a fucking doctor for 10 years, dude. Like,
Mm,
I'm not going to find a doctor that understands
mm,
paleo and also. And then in that moment, because I walked out of his house, I had this thought. I'm like, I was so mad about it too, because I was like, okay,
mhm.
and I was like, how am I going to find someone who understands paleo? And then I thought, I literally in that moment goes, no, hold on a minute. How about it's going to be easy? How about it's just going to have, how about it's going to be easy? How about
Love
no,
it.
it's not going to be difficult? And literally, I found Dr. Forsman, who is,
Yeah, amazing.
I get goosebumps thinking about him because the universe couldn't have brought me a
Yeah,
better
no.
person in this scenario at all as a human being and everything else.
Yep.
He already knew all about paleo because he's a paleo doctor. And he also agreed and understood all the stuff that I did. And literally, I found him within a week of turning that around.
Wow.
Literally within 1 week, because I was like, nope, it's not going to be hard. How about it's going to happen?
Solutions
And
focused and law of
unbelievable,
attraction and all of it.
all of it. And then I did it again with the place I live in now. I live in a beautiful guest cottage in the mountains near multi-million-dollar homes that don't have a lot of guest houses. And my limiting belief was over the past years when I had rented places, you'd find a guest house you'd call, it would be taken right away. Like, you know what I mean? Or they were expensive or they were always snatched up. And so again, here's me. I'm looking online for a place and I was like, I really want a guest house because I had gone through like another roommate that sucked or whatever. And I was like, I can't do the roommate thing anymore. Like, I don't want to deal with anyone else's energy. I just want to live by myself. I
Yeah.
was like, God, I really want a guest house. And then the thought came up, the limiting belief was like, every time they're never available. They're
Mhm.
always, and then I said, you know what? No. How about today's the day I get the fucking guest house? And I went onto Craigslist and I shit you not, there were three. And the one that I called, which is the one I'm living in, was a woman who was very honest. And by the way, this is what's great because I could have had a further limiting belief. She said, I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm already going to give it to this guy who's a grade school teacher, but I want to meet a few more people and just be open. And I really sold myself, on my thing. And I came up here, connected with her, and I was the one that got it.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
those are two times when I said to myself, no, 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 no.
Yep.
How about this time it's going to happen? No, how about it can happen? And both of those. So I know the power of telling yourself this and then also declaring it in the super affirmative, like, oh no, instead it's going to happen. Not
Yep.
like, well, I mean, maybe it's possible. It was like, no, no, motherfucker. How about all the years I dealt with shitty doctors? No, today's the day I'm gonna actually find the one. Fuck it.
Yeah.
They're out there.
I love what you're saying so much. It reminds me so much of what Tony Child teaches, my mindset coach, about belief. So one of a full month with him is belief, and so he takes you through 3 stages of belief. And what most people do, that he's helped illustrate for me is our belief is based out of our past experience. right? So your past experiences, there's never any guest houses available in that
And
area.
it was true for my
Your
past.
right. And your past experience was there's no doctors that understand paleo and can help with thyroid. Like there aren't any. So most of us act out of past experience. That's where we base our belief in. So it takes a special person. It takes actual brain power. It takes choice to act from a place of imagination that's never happened before and have that belief, right? So it's such a powerful practice. It's one that I use constantly. I told you I was doing my 10-year plan, like, and you hit on another one that reminds me of Tony Robbins, and he teaches that there's a difference between being committed to something like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a doctor. Like I'm going to find, I'm going to find a house. I'm going to work really hard until I find one. There's a difference between that level of like, I'm going to work for it. And I'm like, I'm committed to this, and resolve. And resolve is like, it already happened. Yep. And that's where you were at on both of those. You're like, no, it's happening, mother effer. You're like, this is going to happen for me. And that's it. Beautiful illustrations of both of those concepts. And there's so much power in it. And I use them all the time. I was doing some visualizations of myself with some goals I have right now this morning. And I love visualization. For me is everything. Because as soon as I see it, it's like, I'm like a magnet. Like I already know. And I have lived over and over and over where I'm in that moment. Like, dude, I freaking saw this. That's cool. Look what I did, and that's very self-empowering. You're like, dude, what else can I make happen in my life? So anyway, I love those.
And I love what you said about the 5 and 10 year plan. I remember years and years ago, my friend's stepdad, really good friends with the family. So I'd go out to dinner with them and stuff. I was sort of like, kind of part of the family. And their biggest thing to everyone was like, well, what's your 5-year plan? Like the father was always like, what's your 5-year plan? And I was like, fuck this guy and his 5-year plan. And so anyway, he asked me that. I didn't really have one or whatever at the time. And then I ended up, publishing some books, and I wrote my friend, I go, hey, tell your stepdad, here's my fucking 5-year plan. Like this is a joke. But what I like about it, and here's the thing with 5 and 10-year plans, they might change. Okay. That's okay. Yep. They might change, but you do it in a way that if everything in my life goes exactly the way I want, not what do I think right now I might be able to achieve? What is my highest? You shoot for that first, because while you're creating that 5-year plan, limiting beliefs might come up, and then you're limiting the 5-year or 10-year. Yep. When you do something like that, that is like, if all my dreams came true, what would it be?
Yep.
And then because while you're writing that out, you're going to discover limiting beliefs about some of those things, and you'll be able to address it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's so true. And it's great. When you have a plan, plans drive action. So it's so important. I have like just observed this so much in the path of growth and entrepreneurship and goal setting in general. Usually, even though you're trying to think big and you're trying to think ridiculous and delusional and big dreams, you're still limiting yourself. You usually are. And so it's so important. One, yes, like have that plan, have that big dream, like visualize it, and then start reverse engineering. And it's like, okay, if you're really going to make that happen, like how is that? How do you think that's going to happen right now? And go for it. Do your best. I tell my clients, it's like standing on a dock and imagining that you're going to swim a mile through the ocean. And you can plan that. And you're like, okay, like these are all the things I need to do. But then once you're in there, you might have to make some game time decisions, because now you got the freaking salt water in your eyes. Like it's a little crazy, so that's okay. And so you have this plan, you do the best you can with your plan, but this is where intuition comes in. This is where that's why for me, I have to meditate or I lose contact with those really strong intuitive pulls. And that's when it's like, dude, when sometimes the universe will gift you, it's like, hey girlfriend, I know that you think that is the way to go, but surprise, we got something better for you, and that's when you have to go.
I thought this was a gift. I didn't know it was going to be a lesson. Damn it. I thought I was headed towards the gift. Turns out it's a gift and a lesson. And you gotta go with it, right? No matter
right. It's like your Hawaii story. Remember from one of our first episodes?
Was this one where I won the board or?
Where you got to go to Hawaii. You wanted to go, and then you got a modeling gig or something like that.
I wanted to go on a trip. And it was a Mexico.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Go on a trip, but also what it really stemmed from is me wanting money to buy some furniture and stuff. And my thing in my head was, I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
I wanted the money to come in from somewhere else. And then that's when I manifested the modeling job. By the way, again, limiting belief. If you told me, if someone came out to me and said, you're really pretty, you should think about modeling, I'd laugh in their face. I'd be like, I'm 5'2". I'm not a ripped skin. Are you kidding me? No way would have anyone choose me at 44 to be a model or whatever at the time. But it happened.
I can see
Like
it.
a limited belief of most people just got thrown out the window with that. Who the
Yeah.
hell? Because usually for those things they hire actual models who are 5'10" or 6 feet, but I guess this time they didn't.
And what if, Elle, what if you had limited believed yourself out of that gift? That's what happens to us a lot, is like
Right.
the universe sees what you want and they come in and they're like, here you go. And you're like, I can't because of problem, 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 problem. And you limit belief yourself out of what the universe is trying to gift you. And that
Yes.
I've seen it happen in myself. And I'm like, dude, and luckily sometimes you get second chances. That's happened in my life recently, like in some business stuff. Cause I was like, nah, I can't because of blah, blah, blah. And then like finally, like it was more like I needed some growth work. And then it came back around and I was like, oh, I see it now. I see the opportunity. This is really cool. Thank you, universe. Like I got it, So man, but that's why we have to do this work
Well,
and
it's
really
funny.
observe.
Something came up there, an example that's kind of important. So, I live in Hollywood. We know lots of people who are in the industry and, famous celebrities and all this kind of stuff. One of my friend's daughters, who's an actor and has done pretty well, at a certain point, she was basically offered by a very famous musician, because she's also a singer, to get put on his label. This is like most people's dream come true.
Right.
She, though, didn't want to be identified as that kind of music singer. So she was like, no, and everyone around her was like, what are you doing? You've been in Hollywood forever. This is a huge break. Like, you don't know where it's going to lead. Just take it. Just take it. She didn't. It's been 10 years and you know what I mean? Sometimes now, no, woulda, coulda, shoulda, that was her choice. But there are times when I look back and I go, oh, presented with such an opportunity and she limiting believed or categorized herself out because of these things that were about ego and not about the furtherment of a potential career or where it could go. I mean, look at people like, I don't know a lot of these people's music, but like Taylor Swift, some of these people, they started off in one genre and became another.
Mm-hmm.
She was too just like, no, I am not a country singer. I do not want to do that for life. I don't want to be identified with that. That didn't mean it would have had to be ever, but anyway, lost a chance there. So sometimes an opportunity comes in and you limiting belief yourself out of it, or it's ego. And that was one that we all just still to this day, we're like, damn.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. And I think this is where intuition really has to come in. You got to really test it. Like, you got to be really willing to see in yourself, like, wait, am I just being difficult here? Am I being too, Tony calls it pigeonholing God? Am I, no, this is the way it's going to happen. Exactly like this, and it's like, dude,
Right.
What do you really want? She wanted to be a famous singer. So like, dude, whatever avenue is presented, like go for it. Right. So, but there's this other side. I had an opportunity similar to this where I was presented with an offer from a marketing company that I was witnessing make tens of millions of dollars for someone else that I know, and they wanted to bring me on board. And I was like, dream come true, right? Cool. I'm going to sell all these, I'm going to be a millionaire selling programs on the internet. Like every fitness, influencer's dream come true. And my gut was like, don't freaking do it. Don't freaking do it. Don't freaking do it. Don't freaking do it. Like, it was like I wanted to puke because it was a money play. It was not my message. It was not what I was about. I was going to have to like completely shift my entire messaging into something else that like doesn't light me up. It's not my area. It was a complete money play. And I was like, dude, it took so much courage to say no to that. So much, because it was like, it was a very, it was like, dude, but this is everything you want. Like, but it was like, but it's not, this is me selling out. And so I said no. And everybody around me was like, dude, Tara, like what the F? Like, are you sure? Are you sure?
You knew, but you knew.
Within 2 months, that whole organization crumbled to the freaking ground. So I would have like a
my next question. My next question would be like, what was your proof?
Yep.
And you got the proof.
I would have changed all my messaging. I would have gone from this like keto, weightlifting, biohacking, like, like body composition, go for your goals person to like a mommy trainer is basically what I was being presented with like postpartum shit. And I was like, dude. And so I would have changed all my messaging and I would have like taken on this freaking like sellout persona. And then that all would have crumbled to the ground and I would look like a freaking fool and lost the respect of so many of my followers and the people who trust me, So I was like, so proud of myself that I didn't take the offer. But for me, it was, I really challenged myself on that. I'm like, Tara, maybe you do need to be willing to shift. And like, this is what people want from you. And this is what the universe is asking. So like, just be flexible. But it wasn't that. It was this deep gut, like,
but your gut was too strong.
Yeah. So take your gut in it too.
Back to our gut intuition episode, like on gut instincts and how something serendipitous, even if it's perfect, No, it's like the trip to Molokai. Everything about it, or you doing this thing, but everyone's saying I should do it. They're making all this money, da, da, da. But
Yep.
inside you were like, oh, and that again, this is like, he always listened to it. It's always
Yeah.
right. And I love that you got your proof quickly. You would have
Yeah.
gotten it at some point regardless.
So yeah, just to clarify with that, I think it's so important to check yourself because
Yes.
sometimes I think the fear response can feel very similar to the gut response because you feel nervous, you feel like "Ugh," like it's not like a high vibe, like yeah, like it's kind of like shit, I don't know. And so check yourself and just make sure that you're feeling like you don't want to do it isn't fear. Like really examine that. Like, so what does it mean if I do this? It means, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to expand into this person I'm not really sure if I'm capable of being. And it means I'm going to have to do all this work that I'm not sure if I'm capable of doing. I'm not sure if I have time. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. Like, if those are the reasons, you might want to lean into it a little more. But if the reasons are like, dude, I know I can, but like something about this just feels freaking wrong, that's when you say no. So I think it's really cool to run that through your filter of like checking yourself and then your intuition. Yeah.
I just thought of an example, and I can't say who it is, but it's a really great example. So I have to say it. And one day, maybe I'll be able to tell the details of it. Long story short, a multiple Academy Award winning, probably one of the highest respected actors, I'll keep the gender neutral, in this town, offered me something that most people in our industry would take in a heartbeat.
Hmm.
They basically were like, hey, you want to come on set and be my person for 6 months and I will get you a role in the film and
Oh,
all
wow.
of this stuff. And nobody would turn this down. I'm telling you right now, like nobody would turn it
And
down.
that's your jam. I mean, that's your dream come true, it sounds like, right?
It literally, and it was like right as I had published my first book, but still, it absolutely is still a dream. Like
Yeah.
I would take, and then by the way, I have no regrets about it. So here's the thing:
Mhm.
I didn't trust the character of this person that
Yep.
they would follow through with what they could do. I felt, and I knew in my heart that they were dangling a
Same.
role over me.
Same.
And you know what else I thought too? I thought, you know what? They probably would have me film that role, that 2-liner, 5-liner, that part, and then I'll get edited fucking out because that's the type of person this motherfucker is.
Mm.
And stuff had been out in the press from family members and things that have written stuff about this person. And I just knew their character because I
Yep.
had worked for them for a while.
Yep.
And literally, I mean, I turned down, and I turned down like a lot of money for it too. They were like, I'll pay you, something like it's like 80 grand for 6 months to get to like be, in some exotic location with one of the, like literally one day I'll come out and tell you the name and you'll all be like, holy shit, I can't even believe like, know this person. So, but I turned it down. The gut was not right. I didn't feel that I didn't trust the follow through. Again, it was like your situation, and there are no regrets. I am
Yep.
so glad I didn't, because you know what else it was? I didn't want to spend time with this motherfucker. They were really moody and all sorts of shit. And here's the thing about them. The reason they liked me so much, and then this goes back to being confident as fuck. The reason they liked me so much and wanted me to be their person is because everyone around them was a yes person. And I was only the person that's like, don't talk to me that way. And they loved me for it because they were a bully, and bullies love it when you call them on your shit. And I remember when I was saying to her, I said, listen, I don't think I can do it. And they go, well, they were like, no, but you don't understand. You're the only person I can trust to tell me the truth and to say what they're feeling. What an incredible compliment. I will take this compliment from this actor to the grave. I fucking love it. I will hang a goddamn shingle on my fucking house for it because it's awesome. Such a great compliment. And they're right. They're true. That is who I am. I just didn't want to be around them because I would constantly be up against calling them on their shit, telling them that they're rude or all this stuff. And I knew it would be constant, and I couldn't hold back because I know how moody and whatever shitty this person is to people. I would be having to deal with this for 6 fucking months, and I'd have to be apologizing for this person to everybody. I just knew the game. And I was like, I'm not going to do it no matter what this could bring me. And I didn't trust what it could anyway. So I was torn and talking to some people, but you know what? I followed my gut, and I'm so glad I did, you guys. I'm so glad, because I have a feeling it was better to just kind of detach from this person, because I don't think any good juju would have come in the future from this.
And for your life trajectory, it's more important that you know for yourself, like when I have a gut feeling and I know what I need to do, I do it versus you turning into this person who rejects all your feelings. I guarantee you everything would have gone exactly like you thought it was going to. And you're like, then you lose trust with yourself. That which is more, which is what, cost risk versus reward. I say every single time, listen to your gut. And that I'm glad you brought that up because that was the same thing with me is I didn't trust the person that was offering this to me at all. I was like, this person is not, no, I don't want to be in business with this person. Like I can make
Yes.
money some other way. Like I'm not going to become this person who can't freaking sleep at night because I'm involved in some weird thing that makes me feel crappy inside. Like that's not worth it to me. Like that's not why I'm here. I'm here to help people, not to just make money. Right. And so when you have those feelings of like something's wrong with the person you feel like that for a reason. You don't ever like, I don't have any feelings like that about Elle. I'm not like, oh,
Yeah.
I just
I mean,
don't really trust Elle. Like there's zero of that. And so like, if I did, there would be a reason for it. So I think that's a beautiful example of, when you're getting into a situation, when you have a bad gut feeling about someone, dude, just bounce like that. It's there for a reason. You wouldn't feel like that for no reason. And then I want to give a little plug for our next episode, which is going to be how to be a good friend, because
yeah.
you just illustrated something like Elle absolutely, that is one of my favorite qualities of you is like I know you will tell me the truth, and that is such an important quality for being a good friend is just tell somebody the truth. Like they're not asking you so you can like blow smoke up their ass and feel all right. Like I don't want that. I don't want friends like that. I don't trust friends like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, don't be such a don't be such a pleaser that I can't freaking like be real with you. Like, just tell me what you actually think. That's why I'm bringing it up. So I love that. I love that quality. It's so important. So I just had to highlight that real quick.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up.
Well, I want to share with everyone, since
Okay,
it's the
sure.
beginning of the new year, Tara was just on the Primal Blueprint podcast, little new year, new you,
Yeah,
talking
thank
about her
you.
experience and health and everything, which was released this Monday. So please go check it out. You can go to blog.primalblueprint.com or just, go to any of our Instagrams and it'll be on there. It's a really great interview. It's really inspiring. And we all know this is the time of year, pandemic, holidays, people aren't feeling great. They need to be motivated. It's a very motivating and inspiring thing to sort of like get your health and your mindset in order. So please check that podcast out.
Thanks, Elle. Yeah, I felt like we hit a lot of really good like nuggets and things that you could leave inspired to like drive into action. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I'm still like, even though we co-host this podcast, I'm still like, I was on the Primal Blueprint podcast. Like that still is like super, super honor for me. So, and you're such a good interviewer too. Like I'm just listening to it like money, yes. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much, and don't forget you can check out our new website. It's kickasslifepodcast.com. So, like, if you want to share any of these episodes with people, that might be a good resource for you to do that. So no matter what kind of phone or gadget or whatever they're listening on, you can share more easily. And again, we have our resources, all of our discounts, books, and all of that. So check us out there, and also on Facebook in Kick Ass Life Podcast Facebook group, where we open some pretty rad discussions, and there are some pretty impressive people in that group as well. So just even from a networking standpoint, it's a good little group to be in. So, all right, guys, thanks so much. Hope you guys have a kick-ass day.
See you next week.